utterly alone.
It's time for you to learn to be alone. The reason you are so desperate for friends or even just relationships and love is not because you want companionship, but it's because you're scared of your own thoughts, insecurities, or just having to be alone with yourself. You crave the validation and comfort that you find within the attention of a partner or in the distraction of always being with friends.
But do you love him?
I care more to be loved. I want to be loved.
That is not the same as loving.
Like an addict, you chase after pleasure and mind-numbing distraction for temporary relief from your issues instead of facing them head-on and resolving the root of your problems.
I may finally have found a place where I can be all alone.
When you finally learn to be alone and become genuinely secure with yourself, you don't feel the need to chase after someone's attention or have FOMO or always need to be around others anymore. When you finally find comfort in solitude, you ask yourself, was that desire to be in a relationship or needing to have all these friends and be constantly productive really because you wanted companionship? Or was it just a subconscious attempt to ease and distract from your own issues? Was that need to be liked and loved by those around you because you genuinely cared about those people's opinions? Or was it just an attempt to heal your own insecurities and garner validation?
I want what they have so badly. To be perfect. To be loved from as many people as possible to make up for all my time spent suffering.
These are truly powerful, perception-shifting questions to ask yourself, and that can only really be recognized after periods of solitude. People often think that solitude is depressing, lonely, and terrifying, but what if I told you that couldn't be further from the truth? Today, I wanted to talk about how to be alone with yourself as someone who has been working from home for over a year now with no friends or relationships. Now, that probably sounds scary or even pitiful to some of you, but this level of seclusion has actually helped me in ways I could have never foreseen and has even helped resolve all this emotional or traumatic baggage that I didn't even know I was carrying. So I want to start this video off by clarifying that obviously wanting to not be alone is not inherently wrong or means you are insecure. Come on now. Human beings are one of the most social animals on this planet, and strong social communities are one of the reasons we overcame so many adversities and were able to progress so quickly. Social support is vital to living a healthy, happy, fulfilling life. However, what I did want to talk about is something I have noticed within the people around me and just how common it seems to be. There is nothing wrong with being social, but if you're craving it out of fear or to desperately distract yourself, then I think there is.
Hello, Gen Z. I never thought we'd get to this point, but I guess time really flew by when we were having so much fun learning through a computer screen, watching life get more expensive, and preparing for yet another economic downturn about to arrive.
Many things have been said about my generation, Gen Z. We're told we're either lazy, depressed, or just don't want to grow up. But one thing that I think is undeniable is our almost insane levels of self-awareness and even just awareness in general. The amount of media we consume has made us hyper-aware of the world, those around us, and ourselves. However, being the first generation to truly be born into a world with unfettered access to the internet has also given us this genuine sense of a postmodern collapse of objectivity and meaning. We are constantly flooded by so many conflicting messages all day telling us how to live and think that we become overwhelmed and paralyzed by choice. Through this endless stream of content and information, we begin to become almost like chameleons, learning to shift and adapt to whatever niche thing is trending or acceptable at the current moment. This constant consumption of content makes us truly one of the most aware and introspective generations, but paradoxically also one of the most rudderless and unsure. We search for meaning, purpose, and personal authenticity in our feeds and within others, but sometimes that will only really come when we slow down and finally face ourselves and learn how to be alone. This is what I feel I realized spending such immense time with myself and becoming almost uncomfortably present. So recently I moved back home to live off savings and to focus on my own goals and aspirations. Believe it or not, That means no relationships, friends, sex, limited social contact, no alcohol, drugs, or social media. These past 15 months have been my 40 days in the desert, isolationist, introspective era where I'm facing my own demons and thinking about so many different things that I honestly don't think would be possible if I wasn't in this specific isolationist circumstance. Now, this amount of isolation probably sounds terrifying to most of you watching, but honestly, the amount of personal accountability and growth it has caused is truly shocking. This also isn't some novel discovery I made or some light-hearted self-help advice. It's a practice that actually is common within many cultures and religions throughout the world in history. Almost all religions speak about the importance of having a period of seclusion as a way for greater self-development or to be closer to the divine. Whether the Catholic monks in Europe or the Buddhist ones in Asia, humans have believed that isolation can become a catalyst for growth for millennia. In the same way, I feel I have learned that by removing myself from everyday distractions and anxieties, I have become so damn self-aware that it's like literally everything I do or feel or think is being observed from as many differing perspectives as possible. Like I'm combing through my thoughts and interrogating them, trying to learn as much as I can about myself and I guess whatever issue or problems I'm dealing with at the moment. At first, I would tell myself, okay, obviously a lot of isolation will cause the brain to search for other stimulation, especially if you're like me and already have a very analytical type mindset. But as more time has gone on, it's like I'm remembering and recognizing things about myself that are helping me solve all these personal problems and move on and let go of all this baggage that I honestly didn't even know I had. And it's not even like being isolated has caused me to all of a sudden become more reflected, because I've always been a very introspective person. It's just that it has taken it to a whole different level that I didn't even know was possible. In other words, I had no idea just how much I was distracting myself from myself and my problems. What I mean by this is by becoming so present and getting to know yourself so thoroughly, you are then able to recognize flaws and shortcomings so you can then focus on them and grow. When you spend such immense time with yourself, you cannot run away from your insecurities, traumas, and fears anymore, and you're forced to face them. I think until you really choose to put yourself into this certain circumstance, you won't really be able to understand or recognize just how much your actions and choices revolve around distraction, pleasure, and impulse instead of a real, genuine desire. So what I mean by this is the constant anxiety to go out and be productive or being a workaholic or even FOMO isn't because you actually want to experience these things or be around these people, but is really an instinctive fear that if things slow down too much, your thoughts and worries and past traumas will begin to creep up. The last thing you want to do is face that baggage and work through and process it, because let's be honest here, it's not easy and it tends to be painful. So to give you an example, I have friends that vent to me about just how much they dislike the specific people that they always go out with, and they don't really know what to do about it. Now, the obvious solution to this would be to stop hanging out with these people. But to this friend, the thought of being alone is much more terrifying than being around insufferable people. They choose bad company over none because the desire isn't really to go out and be social. It's just to distract and continue distancing themselves from their thoughts and unresolved issues. This, of course, isn't just something I notice in others, but is also something I notice within myself. So for instance, while I personally love to be social, I'm also very balanced with my alone time, and my problem wasn't always having FOMO, but was more being a workaholic. I had to be working at least 40 to 50 hours a week to feel like I'm being useful and to feel content. Now that I'm alone, I've come to see that this obsession with productivity wasn't because I was passionate for the work that I was doing, but was really to distract and numb myself. I really noticed this on my days off, when the residual depression and anxiety from all my unresolved baggage would creep up and would only go away when I was distracted and being productive again. Now again, to be clear, I'm not trying to say that if you always want to go out with friends or in a relationship that you're inherently insecure or something's wrong with you, but just that I think a temporary period of isolation is necessary for everyone to allow for the opportunity to get in touch with your genuine self so you can then end up living a more happy and healthy life. When you get into this kind of reflective, non-distracted mindset, you become truly in touch with yourself, your desires and fears, your strengths and weaknesses, your achievements and downfalls. And while yes, I get it, this can be very scary for most of us to unbiasedly observe ourselves and not ignore our flaws or issues, I still think doing it can set you up for incredible success and happiness down the line. And I also want to say, I know that I'm very fortunate to be in the situation I'm in, to have so much time to think about all these things while living off savings, especially as someone who also knows what it's like to be in a city, just trying to make it day by day, not having any time to really be with myself. But yeah, I just wanted to share this thought with all of you. Have any of you ever experienced such self-awareness or been so isolated? Did you thrive and learn, or did you hate it and sink into depression? Do you fear being alone, or are you the opposite and love it and don't like people at all? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you all have a very good day.